Hey, good evening, everybody. It's your boy Eric B. E-Buck is in the building. And once again, you have joined me for another episode of my video podcast, Get Off My Lawn Live. This is Get Off My Lawn Live. I am your host, Eric Buckner. And today I am here to discuss with you, among other things, the usual trending topics. We're going to get into some of the government activity that's going on today as well. But the main thing we're going to discuss tonight is the issue of our children, and in particular, what's going on with the children in terms of the pandemic and some of the other issues that they have that have not been politicized or talked about as much in the news because of the pandemic and what's going on in 2020. I definitely want to have a very detailed discussion about that. People, as we have this discussion, feel free to join me in the comments here, either on Facebook or you can find me also on the YouTube channel under the Nighthawk Detroit Network. That's Nighthawk Network Detroit. You can find my Facebook discussions as well as this particular podcast as it's streaming live here on your listening or video device, whatever the case may be. So that being said, as usual, I like to know what's going on with you guys in the comments. And some comments show up on the StreamYard here in the studio, and some of them do not. So allow me at this time to set my device so I know who's saying what here. So give me a second as I do that. How's everybody doing this evening? Hopefully everybody is staying warm. It's pretty cold here in Detroit today. We had our first real snow, and it's kind of slippery and nasty outside. So in your travels, please be careful, folks. Also, how's my fam doing? Shout out to anybody in the fam that's looking in or listening right now. Hopefully you guys are doing okay wherever you're located right now. I'm almost set here, so please be patient one more moment. All right, and here we go. We got Israel in the house this evening. What's going on, Israel? How's it going? Good evening to you as well. Got H2 in the house. What's going on? H2 Helena Hologram, famous host of Hey Bitches. We had our show on the Nighthawk Network last night. Had a couple technical difficulties on her end, but we worked it out here. It was a good show. Hopefully you guys have checked it out or will be able to do so on the page. Hey, friend Amy's in the house. What's going on, friend Amy? Amy, also show contributor and kind of the resident research department person here on the show and other shows as well. Yes, Israel, good. I'm glad you're doing good. Okay, like I said, feel free to join in the comments. You know, there's always the show within the show where you guys talk to one another and, you know, check on each other. Some of you guys who check out different shows on my Nighthawk Network and frequent and whatnot. So by all means, greet each other and say hello and let us know what's going on in your end of the world. We appreciate it. Baltimore's doing well. Glad to hear that. And Amy saying good. Just having a corneal abrasion I'm dealing with today. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Corneal abrasion. I got you. Your eye. That's not good. That's not good at all. Hopefully that will get better real soon. Yes, the research department is in the building here. Yep, saying hi. Great. Love it. Okay, so let's get into our trending topics here for this week. Of course, as usual, I will address the big elephant in everybody's room right now, coronavirus. At this point, we are doing slightly better here overall in terms of the nation. Cases are slightly down these last couple of days from the numbers that I'm seeing. But of course, we're all being told that that's the calm before the storm. Because so many people traveled for the holidays, they are expecting within the next week or two the numbers to spike rather significantly. And depending on that, that will be the course of action that several states will have to contend with as we enter the end of the year here. Of course, as you know, there's a slowdown that has been set up here in Michigan. And our governor came on today to discuss that. She is concerned that in these next few weeks that holiday spike will come into play and make a bad situation that much worse. And she's encouraging everybody to be careful and diligent and to continue to be diligent in terms of wearing your mask and social distancing and whatnot. Hopefully, most people will heed that warning. In other events, they are still working on the vaccines. There's said to be now 6 vaccines working through the various trial stages. As you know, two of them they've put in their paperwork. That is Moderna and Pfizer. They've put in their paperwork with the government to get emergency approval. That paper is being reviewed now. There will be a panel that will discuss it next week, and based on those findings, it will be determined whether or not they will be approved for immediate usage, which means basically sometime in the next 2 weeks, we will probably have at least one of those vaccines to start to be implemented. And of course, at that point, we'll determine who gets it, who wants it, who's going to use it. We'll go there when that time comes. Meanwhile, in other parts of the world, we have the Attorney General Barr, who today announced, like many others have who have studied and looked into it, that he has found no widespread fraud in the election process. And as we know, the president is not happy about it. He still continues to insist that there was a widespread conspiracy theory to upheaval the election. There are many millions of bad votes and whatnot. We all know in the end, it's pretty much stall tactics, and he knows he's not going to win this thing, but he's going to ride it till the wheels fall off. It's unfortunate. I feel like he should be more concerned with the virus, with end of the year protocols, and most importantly, what we'll talk about next, the latest in the stimulus package. But before we go there, let's address some of the comments yet again, see what we're going here. Ruby jabbed my eyeball. Oh, baby, don't do that to mama. That's no good. Prayers for you, Amy. Good looking out, H2. Our governor in Maryland made a commercial, and at the end of the commercial, he says, "We're the damn mess." Really? Really? Facts. Yeah, like I said, you know, people are not always happy with what's going on with our governor. I approve her message big time myself. I love Big Gretch, but people just don't understand some of these other governors, they really on some other stuff with this. Okay, Amy said, I couldn't believe Barr was willing to come out and say that about the election. For what I read, he says there wasn't enough fraud to influence the election. And like I said, every other expert and people that looked into it has said the same thing. Israel saying Trump needs to take that L. Absolutely. And yes, H2, please, y'all wear your mask. You know, we'll do the tutorial near the end here. But nonetheless, folks, that is not the issue. The election's over as far as I'm concerned. We know who won. We know what needs to be done in terms of that. It's time for him to man up, put on his big boy pants, take the L like Israel said, and move on. But meanwhile, like I said, the major thing that's being discussed and determined this week is the coronavirus relief. And we're calling it coronavirus relief because in some of these new measures that's being taken place, that's what it's being called as opposed to a stimulus bill. That's because in the negotiations that's going on in Congress, they are now determined, because wisely so, they understand that something needs to be done before the end of the lame duck session, the end of the year when they leave for the rest of the season, that they need to do something before they leave for good for the rest of the year. So because of that, they are looking into smaller measures than some of them that have been proposed, particularly by the Democrats, in order to get something done until we get Biden in office. Again, today, President-elect Biden came out and said that we need not worry too much. Let's try to get something done, Congress. But in the meanwhile, when he comes into office, he definitely will make sure that we got some things to work and some things that can be done to help out. As he said in his speech, help is on the way. Hopefully, Joe, that is the case. You know, we got to hold you to that because a lot of us need that help. When I say us, I mean all of us. People out here, they're struggling and they need every little bit of support they can get until we get to the part of the pandemic where we're on the other side of it and people can safely get back to work and school and what have you. So, okay, more comments. Trump's not conceding is dangerous on a global scale aside from being embarrassing. Yes, because the world is watching and they see that we got turmoil and whatnot. Who knows what the thought process is behind that with some of these other countries as to, is this a good time to catch us while we slipping? Before they leave for their 5th vacation of the year. Exactly. A lot of congressional vacations. It's even more so here in the state. These state people, they got hunting vacation and summer break, spring break, holiday break. It's out of hand. H2 is saying, I think when Biden gets in office, he will be using a lot of executive power. Well, as you see, One thing we have learned from these 4 years, it does come in handy when you want to get your thing across. So I don't see why he shouldn't. Why does Congress keep taking vacations? Absolutely. Bottom line is, should nobody be going nowhere near home before they deal with this issue? And let's get into that, okay? Because like I said, today we had actually a panel of Congress people on a bipartisan nature. In other words, Democrats and Republicans, a group of them came together and they have proposed a new bill to provide relief for the American people. Let's talk about that bill. Okay, this bill is a proposal that is $908 billion. Okay, keep in mind, yeah, that's a lot of money, but in the same token, it's more than the $500 million proposal that Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Senate, has put out and was soundly rejected by the Democrats and anybody else, even certain people in his party. And then there's the $2.2 trillion that was initially put out by the House of Representatives that people felt was way too much and wanted to pay for way too many things. That got trimmed down to 1.8, and they still said that's too much. So now we're looking at a $908 billion proposal by this group of Senate Republicans and Democrats. They say this will provide, among other things, I got the numbers here for you. You got money for the schools. You're going to get $160 billion in state and local aid to help out the state and local people that the deficiency from people closing down and needing help with government agencies and things of that nature. You're going to get $288 billion for small businesses. In other words, they're going to offer those PPE loans again, but they're definitely going to concentrate, according to them, on the businesses that is hardest hit. And as you know, most of those businesses are probably smaller businesses in smaller towns. And of course, people of our ilk, the people of color whose businesses that tried to get those PPE loans in the past, actually this time they're going to make sure, or at least try to make sure, that they are getting more access to those bills. We got $45 billion for the air and transportation industry. I don't think I want to comment on that. And of course, there's $16 billion that's supposed to go to vaccines in terms of testing and tracing, as well as the implementation of the vaccine in terms of the distribution and making sure that it's free to all Americans. Remember, all these vaccines that's coming down the pipeline that's going to be paid for by our government is supposed to be free to all. So anybody's trying to get you to pay for any of them or whatnot, you definitely want to look into that, because there's something not right with that. Also, there will be an extension of the enhanced unemployment benefits. Now, of course, here's the thing. The big issue was before, when they did the enhanced unemployment benefits, is the fact that it was $600 a week, and they felt like that was way too much, and people was living high on the hog. And I see even today on my timeline, people talking about, yeah, people about to get that 600, be out here clowning again. The drive-through line gonna be crazy. I ain't never gonna be able to get to Walmart. All the TV's about to be gone, etc., etc. Yes, people will use some of that money for that, particularly since it's Christmas. We're going to address that a little later. But in the same token, there's people who actually need that money to pay bills. Some people are weeks, months, several months behind on rent, on loan payments, on car payments, etc., etc. So that 600 comes in handy, and may not even be enough. Remember, some of these people that's being discussed by other haters, as I would call them, are people who are living alone, people who got other people in their household, and they all getting 600. For them, it's highly beneficial since they don't have that many bills and stuff to pay. But for other people, they got whole families out here with children and mortgages and car notes and school bills and braces and all that. So these are things you got to keep in mind. When they make them, they're supposed to consider all the people in those amounts. Now, like I said, this bipartisan bill, they want to cut that $600 amount down to $300 a month, similar to what the president gave out when he did his little executive order earlier. And that's supposed to last for the next 4 months. So they're going to enhance the unemployment for 4 months. So in other words, most of the unemployment is supposed to cut off sometime late this month. And if they pass this bill, then there'll be 4 additional months where that unemployment be allowed, particularly for people who are self-employed, the gig workers. Gig workers are basically people that do Uber and, things like that. People that have their own little side hustles and whatnot that are government funded, things of that nature. So hopefully that will get looked at appropriately. Now, of course, Mitch McConnell has came out a little later today and said that they are in the process of working on yet another bill on his end, one that he wants to make sure that the president will sign. So he's working in coordinates with Mnuchin and the minority leader in the House of Representatives, the Republican minority leader, mind you, and all the other Republican bigwigs, and they're meeting with the president to determine what kind of bill can they come up with that's not going to be the 500, but still definitely not going to be the 2.2 trillion that they can get signed regardless. And what's basically being proposed is that the bipartisan bill that these senators came up with today and them work together in coordinates, of course, with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, the Democratic bigwigs, and figure out something and hopefully come to some type of deal sometime, definitely before the end of next week. Bottom line is, I definitely think there will be some type of measure passed. It pretty much has to. If you just allow tens and 20 million Americans to not have that backup plan for themselves, that's going to definitely hurt the economy. If you allow all these people to be put in a place where they lose their home and get put out, and don't pass that part of the bill that basically excludes people from being put out of their homes, then that's going to be a major issue. You're going to start out 2021 in a real bad way. And like I said, it'll be very negligent on any person that is a congressperson to leave the White House, leave Capitol Hill, leave Washington, D.C. without getting that done. Okay, I'm getting comments up the wazoo here. Hold on. Let's see. They need to put their parties and think about the people. Yeah, it's time to put party politics aside and think about the people. Absolutely. I'm so glad they are going to help small businesses. We have a couple long-time businesses closing. Yes, and even with that help, some of these businesses not going to make it, unfortunately. BGE payments, right? Get his ass out. Definitely talking about Mr. Trump, I'm sure. Trump is the worst president we ever had. Agreed. People were under the impression that they had rental forgiveness when Maryland shut down. This is part of the reason why people are in the housing debts. Absolutely. Some people aren't paying their rent because they feel like, okay, they were told that you don't have to worry about that. They can't put you out at this point, no matter what. So they're using that money to pay for the other bills. Because remember, most people, their biggest bill, more times than not, is either that house note, that mortgage, the rent, or the car note and the insurance. So, of course, you want to basically make sure those are okay. But if in the end, those aren't something you need to worry about at that moment, you're going to knock all the other bills out, make sure you have enough to eat and whatnot, and then come back to that. But see, the thing is, they're saying if you find yourself in that position, you need to at least put some type of agreement together with your rental people, or at least make some type of partial payment. So when the time comes, y'all can work out some type of deal that is beneficial to all. Because in the end, people that own houses, they have bills and stuff to pay too. They can't just sit there and not let you pay nothing and not say nothing about it. That's just not smart. But anyway, hopefully Congress people will, like you said, put all the partisan BS beside them and behind them and get this done for the people because it's needed. I mean, here in Michigan, for example, the governor, knowing that they still been dragging their feet about it, is trying to get something done on the state level and take $100 million of funds that's been appropriated to other things and use that to help people in terms of housing and small businesses and unemployment. Plus, she's also looking into getting the amount of money that we normally get for unemployment increased anyway, because she's saying here in Michigan, the 362, that's the maximum amount you can get here per week, needs to be increased. We have not made a proper adjustment for inflation and cost of living and what have you. That's been the same amount here for, I believe, she said 12 years now. So yeah, it's definitely time to make that adjustment. I mean, personally, myself say it should be at least somewhere around 500, I would think, because most of the unemployment is based on like 75 to 80% of what basic person A would make under minimum wage. So minimum wage has gone up since that time. So that amount should actually go up as well. Okay, we got Coach V in the house. What's up, Coach V? Shout out to you. Coach V is supposed to be my guest tomorrow, because tomorrow on Get Off My Lawn Live, we're going to talk some sports. So yeah, hopefully we can get Coach V. Try to hit me up about 9:30 so you can call in for a minute and we could introduce you to the folks and whatnot, Coach V, if you can. I know you're just getting off the job and whatnot, but thank you for checking in. We appreciate you. Meanwhile, folks, that is what's going on with the coronavirus relief. We pray that they get it together. But now let us get into a couple subjects that I want to discuss here before we get into our main topic. And that goes under Christmas safety. Right now, it is December 1st, and we are in the process of getting ready for the holiday. Now, me, myself, I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm going to give you a full, complete understanding of why that is in my next episode next week. But in the meanwhile, we want to discuss a few things for the people that do. Hold on, let me get a couple of my comments before I jump up in here. Like I said, that's Coach V. From the research department, Congress is required to take a month off, a journey in the month of August usually. This is called the August recess. Although it does seem like they get vacations all the time, the recess periods are basically work elsewhere periods where they meet with constituents, do town halls, etc. Because remember, they represent that part of the country, and they should, from time to time, come back and see what the people want them to do. So, yeah, I understand that. Coach B, H2 saying what up to you. All right, we got, is there any new information about single and married couples getting a stimulus check? Now, like I said, in all these packages right now that's being proposed, there's no talk of any second stimulus check at this time. At this time. What I said President Biden is discussing is that when he gets into office, he is definitely going to make some type of plan where we get some type of additional stimulus after this. So right now, as opposed to getting all the thing in one big whop, we're going with a smaller measure that's going to get the major things dealt with for the next 60 to 120 days. And then when the president gets in, the new president in January, one of his main focuses is going to be working on another coronavirus stimulus plan. That one will probably include a stimulus check of some sort, maybe even bigger than the one that they've been offered. We'll see. All right. Vince is saying, hey, Helena, what's good, Queen? Blessed to still be alive in Atlanta. Amen to that. I posted that this morning. I got so many likes from that. I think we all kind of feeling that right now. That's why I posted right now. I'm just happy to be alive, and I really am. I've been slightly under the weather, not so much sick, just tired from not sleeping well and whatnot. But overall, I am happy just to be here, especially after all the craziness that went on so far this year. Research department saying the August recess originally was due to the summer heat being unbearable. In the 20th century, a law was put in place to do the August recess or a full month off. Because remember, the hottest time of the year on the northern hemisphere is in August. So that makes sense. Absolutely. Okay, so let's get to this Christmas safety, okay? Here's the thing. I need to break this down into a few things. First of all, buyer beware. As you know, this is Christmas time. And a lot of us, particularly, think about yesterday was Cyber Monday, right? We are buying our gifts online. We're not trying to be out in the public. We're trying to stay away from the people and the virus and whatnot. So most of us that's doing our Christmas shopping, we're going to do it online. And because of that, and because our money is kind of funny based on what's going on with the pandemic and what have you, we want to get the best deals possible, most of us. So, of course, when we see things, particularly on our social media pages or what have you, and it looks like a good deal, you're going to look into it. Now, remember, there's three things with this. One, when you look into these social media websites, you want to make sure that they are secured sites, which means that when you look on it, you will see that little lock. Y'all know that little lock that you see when you go to the HTTP? Now, HTTP, I don't know exactly what that means. Help me out, Amy, if you could look that up for me. And then there's HTTPS. The S stands for secure. So if your website has that and it has that secure, that means that little lock's going to put, that means that that's a secure website and that you can go on that one safely and not be concerned about what's going on. But if it's an insecure site, you might be introducing some type of virus to your phone or your computer just by opening it up. So there's that problem. Then, because most secure sites have been vetted some type of way through some type of government agency of some sort, you can be sure that when you go on those sites and you order something from them, that there are protections involved, that you're not being juked out your money. But remember also, even that's the issue, because say you go on Amazon and you order something from Amazon. they oftentimes use third-party sites that sell products. In other words, some of the things you buy will be directly from Amazon. They have like Amazon products that you can buy directly from Amazon. Those you are more likely to get immediately because they're basically just sitting there in the warehouse waiting to be sold. So it's wham bam, thank you, ma'am. You got the Amazon Prime, you might even get it the next day. In some states, you able to have Amazon Now, where basically you order it, and sometime later on that same day, you get the package. But then there's also third-party suppliers that sell things on Amazon. And depending on what the situation is and where it's coming from, it may take a few weeks or longer to get it. And when you get it, it may not be quite what you think it is. In other words, you're thinking it's a nice size package of whatever. And then you get it and the box comes and you get something small like this. And it's like, what is this? You don't read the fine print that says this is not actual size. So when you get it and open the box and say, what is this? I paid $24.99 for this. And it's like, okay, well, you got what you paid for. It's not my fault. You didn't look at the fine print. So definitely, folks, check the fine print. All right, hold on. Amy, I knew she was on it. Thank you, Amy. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This could be addressed by using a secure version called HTTPS. Like I said, that S stands for secure. This involves the use of an SSL certificate. SSL stands for Secured Sockets Layer, which creates a secure encrypted connection between the web server and the web browser. Absolutely. Thank you so much. She copied and pasted that from Google. Thank you, Amy. Good looking out. So like I said, you want to go to a secured site to get your online packages. And I say preferably use the ones that most people use and are familiar with and have some understanding of. That would be the usual Amazons, Walmarts, Targets, Fingerhut, places like that. Now, of course, you have those other ones, the ones that I see on Facebook, for example, Wayfair, and I'm sure if you guys know a couple of other ones, by all means, jump in the comments and throw them on there. Some of those places, yeah, they are legit, but in terms of getting things to you in a timely fashion, not so much. And in terms of you getting a product that's not a regular product or irregular product, that's in the realm of possibility. Again, you want to make sure you read the fine print, particularly if you see something that is just this great deal that everybody else has for a far more expensive price. If it's that much cheaper, it's probably an issue. And worst case scenario, if you're not sure, there are government agencies like the Better Business Bureau, and you could look up wherever in your city and see who you could talk to in regards to who can I ask about, is this legit or not? Okay, here's an example right here. Wish. Do not use Wish. I know a few people that have gone to Wish to get some products and they've had some awful experiences. Do not, I cannot approve Wish at all. I heard Wish is terrible. And then you also have to consider this. Hold on, we'll get to that in a second. Exactly, H2. Those fools don't care about the school kids. That's awful. I keep getting knocked off every time I post a comment. Remind an invite, please. Okay, we'll have to figure out what's going on there, Israel. But we're seeing what you posted, so just keep on. Okay, yeah, so there's that. And now, of course, you also have to have homeowner beware. Because, of course, when you order your packages and whatnot, and they come to your household, what you have to be concerned about is a few things. One, remember, we're in the winter months, so we got winter issues. So let's just say you got that package and it's small, and you don't have any type of instruction as to where you want the package. They'll just put it on the porch, go on about their business. Meanwhile, it got windy that day, package blows off. That didn't happen to me. As a result, Amazon owes me a hat. So I got another one coming. Thank you, Amazon. But in the same token, that's an issue. Then, of course, because it's wintertime, let's just say you have something that's a perishable item and you don't get to it in time. Meanwhile, 4, 5, 6 inches of snow didn't hit. So your package is now ruined because it didn't set out in the snow and got buried and covered. There's that issue. Then, of course, there's the rain and the wind. Depending on wherever you're from around the country, you have that to contend with. So you have to be mindful of that. Keep in mind, with Amazon, for instance, they have a special instructions where you could write in special instructions. I want the package left here, here, and here. I myself, I have a couple of these Tupperware tubs that I use when I'm getting winter packages and tell them, okay, I want the package put here. And on the tub, I put on the top, put package in here. And I have them put it inside. And that way the package is safe from the elements. Another thing is me and my neighbor, we have a system to where if she knows she's going to get a package or I know I'm going to get a package, I let her know so she could be looking out for it if I'm not at home and vice versa. I think that's helpful. Because, of course, when I say homeowner beware, the other issue we have is people who like to be Grinches. They come by and they take your packages. They don't know what it is. They don't give a damn. It's not theirs. It's free. They want it. They steal it. And that often happens in neighborhoods where people just walking by, see that you got a package, walk back around 20 minutes, see the package still there. So they go for it. And even these people that have listening and looking devices in front of their households, that don't seem to deter some of these folks. They steal your packages anyway. So you got to be mindful of that as well. So particularly if you're going to get something that is rather expensive or pricey, you want to make sure that if you're not home, you got somebody at home that's looking out or somebody in the neighborhood that you trust that's looking out to make sure your packages are not being stolen. And of course, if that is the case, you want to call your authorities. Now, keep in mind, they came up with a pretty interesting concept here in one of the townships here in Michigan. They have something that's called Operation Santa's Vault. And what that consists of is you are able to order your package, but you are using a secondary address. That secondary address is the actual police station. And you can get your package sent to the police station, and they put it in a very secret spot where only a few of the officers know exists, and they put it up for you, and you then can, in turn, go and pick it up from the police station. So that's a solution. Perhaps they'll implement that in other places. Also, they have a thing where you can get your packages sent to certain secure places. Like, for instance, I think Home Depot has them where you can get packages sent there. I got other people chiming in on this subject. Hold on. Wait a minute, y'all getting it in. That's what's up. All right, give me a second so I can scroll back here where we got left off. Okay, Niecy's in the building. Hey, Niecy. Hey, fam. I'm driving, but I'm here to support for a few. Peace and blessings. We appreciate you. Thank you. That's H2's daughter. Hey, daughter. Love you, daughter. Packages blow off or get taken. Absolutely. It happened. H2, love you more, beautiful. Saying hi to her moms. Yes, wish it. H2, they are so cheap. Clothes and AliExpress. She's still talking about that Wish. I ain't messing with that Wish. Hello. Let's see who we got there. You know, some of these comments, they just pop up as face viewer, but I can see who it is. Aunt Nikki's in the house. Aunt Nikki from Dish and Tea. Hey, Aunt Nikki, what's going on, boo? That's my boo, y'all. That's my peoples right there. Okay, she is saying, what Coach B is saying, life we used to know is not the same. Absolutely, it's not the same, Coach V. You're absolutely right. Wish comes from China, which is less regulated and can contain chemical agents on fabrics, lead in paints, plastic. Most of the time, it's false replicas anyway. In other words, it's that cheap-ish, okay? It's that cheap old mess. It's that cheap because it is that cheap. Don't buy that mess, y'all. Okay, thank you, Nikki Boo. Sometimes it pays to get the insurance. Yes, it does. If your package, particularly the expensive ones, if it has some type of insurance policy on it, by all means, it might be a few extra dollars, but it's your better interest, particularly if it gets damaged, because that's another thing. Wintertime packages get damaged. I worked at FedEx, y'all. Trust me, it happens. My packages always get stolen because Amazon drivers refuse to follow my delivery. And yes, Niecy, I had that problem all the time. I specifically, like I said, I had the tub out during the winter months, put it in the tub. You know, some of these fools will put it on top of the tub. They'll put it outside the tub. I done had a couple where I done found them through in the bushes. And the crazy part is one day I caught them. I caught them. Just as I was opening the door, they threw it and was about to run up. No. Hey. Bring your ass back here. This is my stuff. Pick that out the damn bush and bring it here. Don't disrespect my stuff. And what's your name? And I sure as hell reported them. I don't play that mess. I ain't got no money to be giving away for you to just throwing around all crazy. Hell wrong with you. Okay, let's see. Exactly, H2. Hold on. Amazon offers secure locations. You can pick it up, like Whole Food lockers. Yes, Whole Foods, that's another place, Amy. Absolutely right. They have lockers too where you can get your stuff delivered too. That is correct. Watch out for the fake delivery people. Yeah, there's those too. There's actually people who will go and get them a bootleg Amazon Prime shirt made up or things of that nature, FedEx shirts, and they go around the neighborhood and they grab the package and they just like, oh no, I delivered the wrong one by mistake. But actually, they still in that package. And they trying to get away with it because they got on the gear, so you figure they're legit. So yeah, definitely watch out for them too. Are the use of the lockers from Amazon? Yeah, Amy says yes, absolutely. Miss Pack agrees. Okay, hold on. I believe this is Nikki again. Yep. She says that that's why in Philly, my ex-husband's house is the post office. I send all packages there for any of my kids and grandkids, and they can all pick their stuff up there. That's a smart thing. Like I said, particularly if it's a place where you know people will be there to pick it up and grab it. Yep, I do that. Yes, I know, Nisi. It's bad, ain't it? Okay, let's see what we got here. That's Nikki again. So yeah, maybe y'all can find a friend or family member who's always home to send packages to them and just make the time to go get them. And yeah, and for my immediate family that's around here, I'm home for the next at least 3-4 weeks. If you want to get your packages in here, I got you. I can leave them right here in the hallway. And when you come, we can slide them out and keep it going. So yeah, if y'all looking to do that, let me know. We'll work out something. That's a very good idea, Nikki. Okay, I had a package marked as delivered in July, but I never got it and assumed it was stolen. 5 months later, right before Christmas, it showed up at the house, but I had moved. It got returned to sender when the post office picked it up and sent it to me. Apparently, the post office lost it on their shelves for 5 months and then still bungled the delivery. My stepmom drove the package from Ohio to Alabama for, well, that's a good stepmom right there. But yeah, to have to go through all that. One of my packages this year, I waited 7 weeks for it. You know, it sat at FedEx's Oak Park port for about 5 weeks until somebody finally delivered it. And it had so much dust and dirt on the package, I basically had to leave it outside so I can get the broom and dust it off. It was ridiculous. I know that package sat there forever. Okay, hey Helena, that's Miss Nikki saying hi to you, H2. Miss Pat saying I just stopped working at Amazon. That's a horrible place to work. And you know they've been hitting me up constantly trying to get people to work there. But I know not only is it a horrible place to work, it said, but they saying they're having big outbreaks of the virus as well. So of course I'm very leery on that one. Modern day slavery, agreed. That's exactly what me and my neighbor do. Get each other's packages. Yep, like I said, me and my neighbor, we look out for each other too. Absolutely. So yeah, that's that issue. And then of course, there's other issues. I say homeowner beware because also it's that time of year. People are putting up their decorations and holiday lights, you know, to get in the spirit and boost everybody's morale and make the neighborhood look good. And of course, there are people that don't like Christmas. I myself don't like it, but I'm not about to go to this extreme. There's people out here, they go out here, they see your decorations, they grab their scissors, cut up your lights, rip down your ornaments, rip down your plastic Santas and all that. They doing all that type of stuff. They had a few reports on it here in Michigan already, where people are going and they basically being modern day Grinches and cutting people's lights down and tearing down their ornaments and messing with their holiday displays just because they hateful human beings and don't want nobody else to be happy. They miserable themselves and they do it. And of course, now with more people out and about, because it's less people working and they ain't got nothing better to do with themselves, these are the things they choose to do with their spare time. Mess up everybody else's fun and holiday. And that ain't right. That ain't right at all. And of course, some of them get caught because now in this day and age of people being on video and whatnot, they get caught on video and they get caught. But other people, they hide their little faces and running off and whatnot. They actually had this dude that was dressed up at a Grinch concert and was going around cutting people's lights. They caught that fool, but yeah, people, they go to the extent sometimes just to be hateful. It's a damn shame. But yeah, you want to look out for those type of people also. Okay, Amy saying, look out for packages marked as delivered, but you don't see it. This is a tactic they use to meet quotas. Report it every time. Agreed. Remember, I know one of the things I do like about what Amazon does when they deliver your package and they will send a notification to your phone. You go on that notification and go to the tracking and it'll show that they had your package and they put it on the porch and they take the picture showing where they put it at and what have you and what time that was. Now keep in mind that time ain't always accurate. I didn't time that in real time. and that I'd have had the package in the house for like 5 minutes, and then the picture finally shows up. So it's a little shaky on that, but it's good to have that safeguard if you can. Let's see. He's saying the wind has been the only Grinch with my Christmas decorations. Misery loves company. Absolutely, Amy. Some of these folks, they just got hate in their heart and they don't know what to do with themselves. So again, y'all be mindful of your neighbors and mindful of your house. Look out for these people that's trying to take people's Christmas joy away, and report their ass. Tell on them. Damn that. That ain't right. Because I know if I catch somebody, I'm straight up telling. I'm telling. Flat out. So that being said, I also want to talk about shopper beware. Because, of course, some of you are going to go out to the various big box stores and, you know, you want to support small business. So you're going to go out to your stores and buy that. People are watching you, folks. They're watching you real close. They're waiting for a moment to where when you are unaware and not paying attention to your surroundings because you on your phone or distracted talking to the person with you or what have you, and they come to snatch your packages. They come to knock you upside the head, take your money. They look to do you dirty because some people, that's how they make they living, unfortunately, by getting over on others. And Christmas is their Super Bowl. They wait for this time of year because they know people walk around with more money than usual, credit cards, what have you, and they look to get over on you. So please be mindful of your surroundings as you're going out to do your shopping and whatnot. Be careful as to who's watching you. Keep your head on swivel if necessary to make sure that people are not out here trying to do stuff. And again, if you see these people and you see them doing these foul things, don't be afraid to tell it. That's the problem. We have got to a point of this don't snitch, don't tell, all that type of stuff. But certain things is not to not be told. Some things need to be reported because people work hard for their money, but especially this year in the midst of this pandemic, for you to come along and just take these people's things because your trifling ass can't get off your butt and get you a job or go through the proper channels to get you some help. That's not fair to people. And it ain't right. And I myself ain't going to tolerate it. And you shouldn't either. So, yeah, so there's that as well. So, like I said, in terms of these Christmas things, please be careful and be aware of your surroundings and whatnot. And make sure that people can have the best holiday they can despite all this. I'm not decorating outside to hell with that. Someone might touch my decorations and have COVID. There's that too, unfortunately. This year may be worse because we are all running around looking like we are bandits. Yeah, and see, that's a very good point you bring up, Ezra. The fact that, yeah, it's harder to identify these people now because in an ideal world, everybody should be wearing their mask, right? So, of course, these people masked up, in this case for the wrong reason, come along, snatch your stuff. So, yeah, you might be able to tell how tall or what shade they are, what have you. But because of the mask, you can't make a full description of what their facial features look like. So that means you need to be even more careful. Absolutely. You bring a very good point, Ezra. Thanks for that. So anyway, people, yes, please be careful. One more comment here. Also, look out for the credit card skimmers. Yep. Very good point, Amy. Pull firmly on your gas pump readers and jiggle the machines at stores when they look funny. Using a chip card should mostly eliminate skimmers. Yeah, so for those of you, particularly those people that have that the Cash App card, the new one comes with that chip reader. And I believe some of them come where you just swipe over and whatnot. They are secure for you, but in the same token, because it's that way, you can use that and basically be doing that. And a lot of these places, they don't ask you for your identification like they should. So then they get over that way. So yeah, that's another good point, Amy. I keep getting knocked off every time I post them. Oh, no, that's because I'm moving the comments, Israel. Maybe that's what you're saying. But no, I'm able to put them on and put them back on. So yeah, I see what you posted. Just keep on posting if that's what it is. We got you. But anyway, yeah, like I said, so, you know, those are some things I want to point out in terms of your Christmas safety. Now, what's going to happen now is I'm going to take a quick commercial break, grab me a few gulps of water here because my mouth getting dry, y'all. A lot of talking. And then we're going to go to our major subject today. And that major subject is, what about the children? Because we need to talk about what's going on with the kids and do a little discussion in regards to that. So, like I said, let me take this commercial break, and I will be right back with you here on Get Off My Lawn Live. Hey guys, we are back. And right now we are getting on from Alone Live. I'm your host, Eric Buckner, and we are about to discuss what about the children. But we still got a couple residual comments from our discussion about Christmas safety. Let me get to them. It's just that I keep getting knocked off every time I post a comment. Still not quite sure why that's happening to you. Don't know what to tell you on that one. Hey, cousin. Hey, it's Dr. Marla Facey checking in. What's up, cousin? She has a show on my Nighthawk Network. It is called Monumental Moments in God's Word. Comes on Thursday evenings. Check it out, please. I will, of course, go through the list of them at the end of the show as I usually do. Amy said, if you have the waves to pay, the Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, or other NFC, your info can get hijacked. Use a Rift Wakey and keep your devices within view. Absolutely. In other words, those cards that wave, they do have things where they can track what's on that card and steal your information that way. Basically, whatever they come up with that's supposed to be a safety device, they also come up with countermeasures to still get into your information. So like I said, just be careful as you possibly can, bottom line. Now, okay, people, we're about to talk about the children. And a lot of you who I've invited to watch the program, whether you're watching it live or you catch the rebroadcast, I invited some of you because I want your input in this. Keep in mind, I'm always a little leery about having these discussions because of the fact that I, as a single male, particular age, don't have any children. So when I speak about children's issues, I feel like people look at it as I'm not justified to do so because I have not been a parent and I don't have kids. But in the same token, that doesn't mean I'm not concerned about the children. I myself have nieces and nephews. I have two beautiful goddaughters who I love very much. I have family members who have children. So I have cousins as well out here that are of childhood age. So of course I will be concerned about what goes on with them. But then it really goes back to a promise I made myself as a child in that very back room there in the studio that I would always make sure that whether I was a kid or not, I would always pay attention to what kids think because we have feelings and we have thoughts too. And it's important. And I swore I would never forget that, and I have not to this day. So that being said, I want you, as we had this discussion, to not only think of the children that's in your household and your family, but think about how you felt as a child, period, and what your thought processes was back then. Now add 2020 and all the modern technologies of phones and all this other stuff, and then throw into that a pandemic and all the other things that transpired in 2020 and have to basically figure all that out with a child's mind. Consider that as we had this discussion. Now, of course, one of the major problems that I'm sure a lot of you are having, because keep in mind, I've had my goddaughter trying to teach her here for a few days, is that this virtual learning is not the best way to get stuff done. In other words, some people, they are working with it and they're working with, like I said, Aunt Nikki on Hey Bitches last night, we talked about this briefly, and she said she loves it. And I understand that, and I'm going to get into that, Nikki, why. But for the most part, the majority of the parents, they are not dealing with this well because they feel overall their children are not learning at the rate they should. And, you know, most of the educators would agree. There are a few people who are invited who are teachers. If you want to chime in with your thoughts, please feel free. But overall, it's not the best way or most effective way to teach in most cases because some people require that extra attention. It's hard to give it to them in these virtual classroom settings. You have lesser students perhaps than you would in a regular classroom, but in the same token, you have to stylize your lessons to try to teach everybody, but try to provide little bits of help here and there. But it's not to the extent that you are able to in a classroom setting where you can have teachers' assistants and have them go to tutoring afterwards and things of that nature. And then it's, of course, complicated by people like my cousin, for instance, who has a child with learning disabilities and things of that nature. They have to try to navigate through this system as well. It's hard enough for them to do regular school, let alone school where you got to log in and understand computer jargon and things of that nature. That makes it that much worse. And then, of course, the smaller children aren't doing well because, you know, how you sit there and try to teach your child who's 7, 8, 9, this is how you work the computer. This is what happens when the screen freezes up. This is what happens when the internet goes out, all these things. And of course, it'll get worse as the winter goes on because winter storms usually mean power outages and the knocking out of your internet and all that. And you'll have that to contend with. So that's problem one. Problem two is that people are not understanding that these kids, they don't know. They don't understand hell with some of the stuff we don't understand. How many of y'all out there can explain to basic person A that's an adult about the electoral college and why all these lawsuits are going, why the president don't want to be nice to the other new president and things like that? How can y'all effectively explain that to where a child can understand when in some of these cases we don't completely understand? Yeah, granted, I have a good idea of how our government works and whatnot, but I understand also I'm the exception more than the rule. So that being said, yeah, I could probably sit down with somebody of a relatively young age and get them somewhat of a clue as to how it works, but everybody not able. They don't have that understanding. So there's that. Then, of course, there's the parents who are protective to a point to where they don't allow their children to see what goes on in the regular world as much as possible. They shield them from that. But in the same token, you still got to explain why I haven't been able to go to school since March, why I can't go outside and play with so-and-so every day like I used to. There's all these things. And keep in mind, some of these kids, they just look at it as like you being mean to them. You're just not being fair. That's the problem. They just don't understand why they just can't go ahead and do what they used to doing. And, it breaks my heart because in the end, they're right. It is not fair. But it's not our fault that it's not fair. We didn't cause this pandemic. We just have to deal with it. And unfortunately, they have to deal with us dealing with it. So when you, as a child, particularly a young child, don't understand how the world works, and you have to explain something that's this big a issue, a worldwide issue, how do you have that conversation with your kids and explain it to them where they have some type of understanding and can be comfortable with that understanding and can work with it? I feel like several parents, they don't have that. They can't do it. I feel bad for the special needs kids who need hands-on education, even worse for their parents. Absolutely. And Amy's also saying, I'm very grateful for Ruby being too young for school during this pandemic, but it's still awful that she can't socialize with other babies. I know, right? And like I said, that's you one. Like I said, there's one of the people who will probably look at the show right now. They're probably at work, actually. They have 6 kids, okay? They are various ages. 1 or 2 of them are teens. 1 or 2 of them are like under 5. And they got all this going on in their household. They still trying to work. They basically working overnight shifts because right now that's the only shift where they can work and still have time to come back home and help the kids get through schooling and whatnot. They didn't have to get computers from this place, that place. They got kids going to 2 separate school districts with 2 separate sets of rules and understandings. It's a big mess in the house. So they got actually 2 internet services to accommodate all the kids in the house. It's a lot. And like I said, they're not a single parent, but in the same token, the other parent in the household is a person who drives trucks, so they're not home a lot. So that puts that emphasis on the one parent. And that in and of itself is a big issue. It's causing a strain in their household. And like I said, I don't talk to them or discuss with them a lot, but I know just based on the bits and pieces they share on the social media and what we inbox about that they going through a lot right now. And that's just their household. So I know some people, they got it even worse than that, perhaps. So yeah, those are the things that concern me. And then, of course, there's the ultimate issue. Here you are in your household with your parents. One of them contracts the virus. Then usually, as has been the case in most of these cases, someone else in the household, if not damn near the whole household, contracts the virus. Then that person has to be hospitalized. And the other person has to be hospitalized. So yes, there are kids who, when the year began, they had 2 full parents and they loved each other and they all lived together. And now they living with grandma, auntie, what have you, because not only did their parents get the coronavirus, but they end up dying. And now they are without parents. And somebody has to sit down and explain to these kids what happened, why it happened, and that they're not going to see their parents no more. And depending on how old that kid is and what they already know about death and being sick and whatnot, those are some tough conversations to have. There's some tough ones to deal with. Kids waking up with nightmares, looking for their mama, not understanding they're not going to ever see them again. That's a lot for a child. That's a lot for an adult to deal with. So it's definitely a lot for a child. And then another issue that I'm having is the fact that there are other things that go on with kids that normally would be addressed a little better, but because of the pandemic, we're not able to address them the way that we need to. For example, there is an increase of kids disappearing, just period. People, one day your child is home, next minute they're gone. Don't know what happened to them. Don't know where they disappeared to. And part of it is simply because some of the parents are negligent. Yeah, I understand. Again, I'm talking about a subject of which I only know so much about because I'm not a parent, but I know this based on what I see and what I've heard and talking to others. Some of these parents are negligent. They are not paying attention to what your child's thought processes and what they're doing from day to day. They're not paying attention to what's going on these phones that these children have. They're not paying attention to what they're seeing on their computer screens. You think they're in there doing their virtual learning. They're on the internet conversing with one another, making plans for outside of school. And in the end, they talking to the wrong individuals. And those individuals are leading them to leave home and not come back. They're being tricked and fooled. They are being manipulated by systems that we don't fully understand. Do you not know that some of these social media platforms have subservient and secondary platforms that some of these kids go on? So yeah, they have their own Facebook page that you have access to, but then they have a secondary page. They have a page on some of these sites that I don't even know. Some of y'all probably know better than I what some of these are. You got the Snapchat, you got the Tinders and all that. And they have their own fake pages and all that. So while you think your child is just posting a little innocent stuff, there are other pages where they showing their little booties and butts and goodies and all that. And you don't know what's going on. And meanwhile, people are seeing that and they luring them into situations that children should not be in. And because you don't fully understand what goes on in your child's life, you don't know that. You don't know what's going on. So some of these kids, they disappear on their own because they see that their parents are not paying attention and don't seem to care as much. So they go to converse with people that they feel are their true friends or who really care and end up getting caught up in something that they don't have no control over. And now they can't go home. They locked up in somebody's basement or been carted off to another state or hell, in some cases, another country entirely. And now they sex workers or slaves or who knows what the hell else. And we don't know what happened to them. They just disappeared. These things are happening on a more frequent basis. And people are not reporting that because we're too busy concerned about some of these other things. Let us not forget what happened with the George Floyd case and the social injustice and racial injustice. Have you sat down with your children and discussed exactly what that's about? I know several parents have, and they've probably done a pretty good job of it. But in the same token, there are people who have not done such a good job with that. And in turn, they still have all these questions and lack of understanding in regards to that. They want to know why the people were protesting in the street and why they do that to them and why they put his knee on the neck and all that stuff. And some parents, because they don't spend the proper time discussing with the children and having these vital and crucial discussions that you should have in part of your child's development, they don't know what the kids should know. They don't tell them or get them an education outside of the books in the classroom. Okay, we got a couple comments. By all means, if y'all have comments on any of this, please feel free to chime in. I appreciate it. Human trafficking. Yes, exactly. Ezra, you are right. Kids are so easily influenced. Growing up with the birth of the internet, my friends and I have all been tricked by someone online at some point. You see what I'm saying? Amy being younger than myself, I understand that. We didn't grow up with the internet and whatnot, so we don't have full understanding of that. But just as times are evolving and technology is evolving, we as people need to evolve with those times. Our thinking needs to evolve. How we contend with things. You can't raise a child here in 2020 the way you would raise them in 1980. I will say that again. You cannot raise a child in 2020 the way you raised them in 1980. There are the big equalizers in that. The internet, the phone. Most of these kids have at least access to one, if not one of their own. It changed the game. It made things different. It gives kids a way to where they are able now to have discussions and conversations outside of what goes on in your household. And you're not privy to those discussions. You don't hear them talking because they typing away what they're saying. And some of these conversations they having, I trust and believe, if you knew they was going on, you wouldn't be happy about them at all. All right, Big Meech from Dish and Tea is in the house. What up, Big Stuff? What's going on? Big Meech is in the building, still at the donut factory. Fill me in what I missed. Well, Meech, right now we're talking about children's issues and some of the things that the children are dealing with during the pandemic that people are not talking about, and some of the issues that they're having because of the pandemic. That's what the conversation is right now. So I know you always have some good insight. By all means, chime in, my friend. Okay, Nikki is saying you have to be aware of what children are doing on the internet. It's not a game. Absolutely. Like I said, there are things that are considered the dark web. And I don't have a full understanding of how any of that really works. But there's internet stuff outside of the normal internet stuff that these kids can go to and have discussions and share pictures and all this stuff. And like I said, it would shock you to your core, some of the stuff that kids are sharing. They having adult conversations. They having showing adult photos. And some of them ain't even old enough to even have a piece of hair on their face. And you like, what the hell? How do they even know about these things? Part of why they know is because they have friends. The other part is because they have this. And if you allow this to raise your child over your own insight and teachings, that's part of the problem. When you allow PlayStation 5 and Xbox to raise your children, as opposed to what comes out of your mouth and helping them understand, that's part of the problem. Like I said, there are some good parents out there, absolutely. Some of you are those good parents. But in the same token, we all know some bad parents. Some parents that more or less had their children just to gain some money from the government. Just to gain some attention from that man that didn't give a fuck about them until you done popped out his child. They have kids for the wrong reasons. It's the reason why I chose not to have children. That's part of why. I want my child to be in a loving and caring environment where both parents are in their life on a daily basis. Until that can happen, won't be no children coming this way. Okay, got more comments here. Let's see who we got here. That's Meech. Privacy is limited for children in my household. There is nothing so sacred that engages children that a parent is to be shut out from. Absolutely. Kids should not have that level of privacy. I don't care how damn old they is. Until you're an adult, you should not be given full reign. Nikki is saying, when my granddaughter is on the tablet, I'm right next to her. She is not allowed on regular YouTube, only kids YouTube, and only like 30 minutes a day. The iPad will not be raising my granddaughter. And my brother, he is the same way with my niece Ava. She is not allowed to watch regular television. She is not allowed to go on regular YouTube. Whenever she is on any type of electronic device, it was parent permission and supervision only. Otherwise, she's not allowed to do so. She is told to read and do her other activities instead. And Ava is an honor student and coming out just fine. Beautiful, smart child. So, yeah, it's possible. And both her parents working at home and working hard, I might add. So, yeah, there's that. But like I said, there are good parents out there, and I applaud you for how well you're dealing with it all and the adjustments you've made. But remember, your children oftentimes coordinate with children that's not so good. I don't know what it is about that, but when you're a good child, you seem to draw the bad children to you. I was a good child, trust me, I know. So the devil's a lie, people. Don't let the devil get into your children and control their thought processes without you having some say-so or ideology of what goes on in that child's head. That's not a good thing. Nikki saying people need to set the parental settings on these devices. And yes, all these devices have parental settings. Even your internet. You go on there and say, okay, parental, so that when certain things pop up that's R-rated or X-rated and whatnot, it automatically shuts off or give you some type of notification on your phone or tablet that your child is watching something they ain't got no business doing. I myself feel like your child should be of a certain age to have an internet account of any kind. And, you know, some people don't believe that. Some people don't have that understanding. I know kids as young as 7 got their own Facebook and Instagram page. That shit is ridiculous. You can barely freaking read, and you got an internet page? You don't even know what half the comments are saying. But you got an internet page, and you go on there with the grown folks, see what they doing. So, yeah, there you go with 7-year-old with the duck lips and all that old foolishness. All that should not be going on. Not at all. Meet saying parents must also listen and watch your children to learn them so you can decipher the difference between their normal behavior and them acting out or being in distress. Absolutely. Like I said, I feel like you parents should have a conversation with your kids. One thing I like about interacting with the youth is that, you know, because I talk to them like they are actually little people, they tend to tell me things that they may not tell other parents. But in the same token, I'm sure some parents will have a problem with that. What you doing telling this 50-year-old single man that live by himself that this and this and this about what's going on in his house? You don't know what his thought process is. And yes, you're absolutely right to question them having that discussion. You ain't supposed to be talking to strangers like that. But in the same token, you know why it's easy for these kids to have that discussion with a stranger, particularly one that is attentive for whether good reason or bad? It's because they're not getting that love and attention and respect at home. They just want people to listen. They want people to tell them straight up what's going on. And if you, the parent, aren't doing that, they will seek out other people that will, whether that's their little friends or their little friends or what have you, or some adults. And sometimes what some of these adults are telling people is not good. I'm not going to tell your child nothing bad. I'm the first one to tell you, well, okay, I don't think you should have this discussion with me, but I will tell you this much. Now, the rest of this you discuss with your mama or your daddy, and you let them know that we had this discussion. That's just me, myself. Other people don't look at it that way. Nikki saying that my grandson is 13. He plays those online games with other people, and my son has the device that he listens so he knows who my grandson is playing and what they are saying. Absolutely. As it should be, like I said, because you assume that these kids are playing with other kids. It may say a certain age, whatnot, but that ain't always the case. Some of these games and outlets, they are gateways for people who have bad intentions, for pedophiles and things of that nature, to have access to your children and teach them and lure them away from their house to get what they want out the deal. Israel saying technically social media is not for children. Agreed. It was made for adults. Facebook and other social media sites allow nude photos. They most certainly do. People make phony profiles. They sure do. And it's easy for children to be influenced in the wrong way. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. How many times have we had that message on somebody on our page? My page was hacked, blah, 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 blah. This ain't me. And meanwhile, the hacker not only got your personal info, but they also then had discussions with your kids and set up stuff outside of the page so that they can still keep in contact with them after you done booted them off. Amy said, not calling kids serial killers, but serial killers come from loving homes too. They most certainly do. Like I said, sometimes no matter what conversation you have with your kids, it still is not enough to mold and figure out what goes on in their mind and their thought processes. I mean, think about it. Let's go back to the Columbine murders of years ago. Some of those kids, they came from loving households. Both the parents were there. And the parent was like, I had no idea my child felt that way. Because on the one hand, they were talking to the kids and they were telling them one thing, but they go out their little friends in the trench coat mafia and they was discussing entirely different things. And they weren't knowing what their friends was up to or who their friends were even. And as a result, what happened, unfortunately. So yeah, there's that. People, we got to understand that we have gotten away from how people used to deal with children, and part of it is good and part of it not so much. As we often talk about on Dish and Tea with Meech and them, we talk about the village. The village is the people that not only grow up in your household, but the people that grow up around you. I'm reading my cousin Marla Facey's book right now, her biography, and she basically talks about how they grew up in Missouri, where they not only had the immediate family, but they had the people around them as well that they grew up with, and they all grew up like family. The village, just like back in the early days of our African ancestry, where we grew up in a village, and the village was our family, not just the person in that hut, but everybody that was in there. We all looked out for each other. It's that same mentality that used to help educate us and keep us safe. It's like that saying goes that I constantly quote: "It takes a village to raise a child." And this day and age, it still does. And some of the most adjusted children that I see are people that not only grow up with their parents in the household, but also have access to aunties and uncles of various ages that talk to them and inform them about things that perhaps their parents don't understand. They have that whole family unit that they can go to when they have issues and things they need to discuss, so that they get taught the right way, and they get people that actually listen to them and understand them. You might have that cousin that's maybe 6 or 7 years older than you. You're not so comfortable going to mom and dad, but you're comfortable going with them because you trust them. And they're old enough to where they can tell you what needs to be said, but you also can trust them not to do nothing bad or have any bad, ill intent in having that discussion with you. Okay, like Amy says, takes a village, absolutely. Okay, and then Nikki is saying, and don't forget when you got grown ass kids who to pretend to be grown, having grown people thinking they are talking to adults. My second husband's daughter did that when she was 8 years old and had a grown man thinking she was grown because her ass was in an adult chat room. Exactly. And let me let y'all in on something. Not only do these kids have these discussions, but they know they're having these discussions. Not only are they in adult chat rooms, they know they're in adult chat rooms. They purposely go there. They purposely hide that information. So I implore you that if you are not a parent that is readily checking on your children to see what goes on with them, do so. Personal privacy be damned. You a child. You don't get that type of privacy as a child. You are not allowed. That's something you earn as you grow into adulthood. You don't just come out the womb and boom, you get this privacy. I understand some of you are had the type of money where your child can have their own room with a door and a lock and all that. I'll be damned if any child of mine, excuse me, y'all, mouth dry, everything cool, that any child of mine will have a door that they can lock on me and keep me from accessing their room at any time I need to, or have stuff that they can lock up and all that. No, kids don't have that privacy. They should not. That's something that they have to earn as they grow, not just instantly get that because of that. Okay, hold on. Some more comments. Cyberbullying is prevalent in these days and times of social media. And yes, there is the cyberbullying. Absolutely. Yep, her IQ is extremely high, so she was able to fool an adult. See, exactly. Because like I said, some of these kids, they smarter than you give them credit for. That's another thing. Keep in mind, I was a child that people would consider a high IQ or smart or what have you. I mean, I was. But in the same token, there were certain things I didn't understand, but then there's certain things I definitely understood. Keep in mind, I would have been way ahead of the game if I grew up in 2020 with all these devices and whatnot. I'm getting smarter by the day just from having access to it as a 50-year-old. So at 9 or 10, if I knew how to work the internet off these Google searches and whatnot, you basically couldn't tell me too much of nothing that I wouldn't be able to figure out from there. And I'm not the only person that thought like that then, and I'm sure hell I ain't the only one think like that now. When I was 12, I went to a chat room and my picture was Heidi Klum. See? And that's another thing. Because you can manipulate and screenshots and Photoshop things and whatnot, these people don't know who the hell they talking to. And in some cases, don't give a damn. You can be 12, you can be 112. They still want it. Okay, Nikki saying her father was mad at the man, but I told him you can't be mad at him. He did not know. They could get that man labeled a pedophile. And see, that's another thing. Remember that we had these registries for people who are sex offenders, and several people on those registries, they are on there for things that wasn't completely their fault. That you as a 19-year-old end up dating a 15-year-old, y'all have sex, but you thinking that person's same age as you. You didn't look for no identification or whatnot. Boom, you're a sex offender. There are people who went on the website thinking they were talking to adults, and because of that, they set up dates and whatnot. All of a sudden, boom, just like Daylight NBC, yeah, you was talking to a child, you under arrest. Boom, you a pedophile because you didn't know. Now, again, I'm not saying that to say, okay, these people, blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is some of these kids set people up to fail just like some of us adults are set up to fail. If you don't know what your kid is thinking and how your kid's thought processes is, these things happen. Okay, Meech saying quality time is paramount. Our children do not know how to be social. They accept the material blessings, but require and request quality. Absolutely. Because see, like I said, the thing that concerns me most is the fact that these people are not having quality discussions. Yet a law about that list needs to be modified. Yep, that's a whole nother discussion for another day. Absolutely. But like I said, what we need to keep in mind, people, is that our children, but they're also little people. They have functioning brains that actually work. They are able to decipher things and think about stuff just like we as adults do. Just like I spend my nights sometimes unable to sleep as an adult, I spend some of them same nights as a child thinking about all types of things that you'd have no idea a 9-year or a 10-year-old would even consider thinking about. And in those conversations, keep in mind, I was fortunate because God had me. I could have acted on some of the things I thought about, and I wouldn't even be here today, to be quite honest. But in the same token, I had parents, but father no longer lived in the home, and mother was so tired from working every day and taking care of 2 other kids also that she didn't have the time to invest in having those type of discussions with me. Didn't have the energy to do it. So there's that. Demetrius Dennis Taylor, period, Meech. You know your girl Aunt Nikki got your back. So yeah, there is that. So those are issues that we need to be concerned about. Another thing in regards to our children and what's going on is the fact that because of the pandemic, they are not having an interaction with other kids that they are used to doing. And that is a big part in your child's development. I'm concerned, for example, with my goddaughter because she's an only child of 9 years old. And you can see that whenever we're somewhere and there are other kids around, she wants to go and run to them and have discussions or whatnot. And we try to explain, okay, no, you can't just run up to any old kids now, whatnot, the virus, this and that. And she kind of understands, but clearly she don't. We explain the best way we can, and she understands. Keep in mind, she's a little slower in her learning, so that's part of it. But the other part is she just don't get it. And it hurts because, you know, she's a social butterfly type of kid, very loving and caring and likes to talk to kids and, you know, makes quick friends and all that. So for you to be that way one day and then the next day people telling you don't be like that, that plays with your mindset. And you try to have these discussions with her and, you know, ask her any questions she has. And she tries to explain, but she's not always good at explaining herself. So that's the issue. And, you know, it's hard to say, okay, well, what outlet do I go to have these discussions with your kids? You know, you can go to YouTube University and try to find people that explains the virus to kids or that, but you still don't make up for their lack of social interaction with other children and whatnot. That is a key part of child development. So the fact that these kids are virtual learning and whatnot, some of the teachers allow the kids to have kind of sidebars and discussions outside of the class, but in the same token, it's not the same as actually being there and sitting there and being able to discuss stuff as only kids can discuss them. Okay, yeah, we live in a different time and we really have to talk to these kids. People get to know your children. That's exactly what I'm saying in a nutshell, Nikki. That part. When kids see kids, they naturally want to play. I say it's your natural instinct to do so. It's just like if you're a person like myself, I'm sitting here and I'm single, you know, I go outside now and I see the mail lady there. You know, before I might have waved, but now I'm like, hi, how's it going? You know, part of it is because I want to let that person know you're a person and I appreciate you bringing my mail or whatnot. But part of it because I ain't be talking to nobody in the flesh in 2-3 days, and I just want to make sure my voice still works. I just want to have somebody else say hi to me and whatnot. It's a natural thing, you know. People aren't meant to be alone. Kids definitely not meant to be alone. That's not how they built or made up. Part of how they develop social skills and thought processes is being around kids, particularly kids of their own age. It's the reason why we created classrooms and stuff in the first place. That is part of why. These are things that we get lost in the cracks about because we so concerned about what's going on in the adult part of the world. And then, of course, there are the kids that's living in these bad households. The households where the parents constantly drinking and smoking and do it around the kids and don't care what they see, what they don't see. There's the households where the mother is being violated and abused by the father or baby father, whatever the case may be. And the kids are seeing that. And normally they would have an outlet to discuss with other kids or other adults outside of the house and let them know bad things are going on here. And I don't know. But because they're not going anywhere and not having those discussions or them outlets to even have those discussions, they are being victimized because of that. There are kids that are being abused and treated unfairly. And normally if they go to schools and go around the environment, they have teachers that look out for things like that. So if they see a child and it look like they have those issues, they can report it to proper authorities. Those kids aren't having those, they're not having those discussions now because they're not been around those people now. So that's a concern. Hold on. Well, shit, I would speak to my male person if they came before 8 p.m. Yeah, then there's that part, Nikki. Then there's that part. Mail behind the Amazon Prime thing. We had that discussion on Dish T the other day. That's an issue. But yeah, so people, we need to actually sit down and have these discussions with the children, okay? Let them know that we're here for them. If we're not sure what to say, let's try to find people that do know what to say, or try to find people that help us say that. Please start paying more attention to what your kids are doing and going through. Again, like I said, it's not my place to tell you how to be their parent. You gave them life. I didn't. But I suggest that you basically monitor their phone usage and their computer usage, their YouTube. You know, they have where you can go through YouTube history and your phone history, and you can see what these kids been looking up. Hell, just like people sneak and go on their boo phone and put the finger on it and all that and see what he up to. Do that with your kids if you need to. Go on and look through their little phone and see what's going on. Look at the damn pictures. If you feel like you violating them, have them open it up right there in your presence and show me what's in your pay and whatnot. If they doing nothing wrong, it's not a problem, right? But if they is doing something wrong, and this is your way of detecting it so you can do something about it before it's too late, that's what you need to do. That's just my personal opinion. Again, this is the opinion of the host of the Nighthawk Network and Get Off My Lawn Live. It does not reflect that of the other hosts and people as part of my podcast or my podcast family. Me, myself, though, feel like that's your child. Be up on them. Give them love. Give them respect. But give them discipline and get them understanding. That's how we get these well-adjusted children out here in the world and make the world a better place. My personal opinion. So that being said, that's going to wrap up that discussion. And before I wrap up the show, as always, I want to thank all of you who joined me in the comments, whether you do so now or in the rebroadcast of said comments and show. But of course, I also want to give love to my broadcast partners that I like to call my Nighthawk Network. They are the people who podcast you will find on my Get Off My Lawn Live info page, which I have now renamed the Get Off My Lawn Live Nighthawk Network information page, so that you not only will find my broadcast on the page, but their broadcast as well, with their permission, of course. And some of them include, but not exclude, Hey Bitches with host Helena Hologram. You will find her show usually Monday, 9 p.m. And then you also have the Hey Bitches remix with her alter ego, a.k.a. Derek, D Nice. He can pop up at any time because basically when D feels it, he goes on the air and he has that discussion. And oftentimes he's showing us love. So let me show you that love in return. Thank you, my partner, my peoples. We had the show on the broadcast last night. Well informed. A lot of good things talked about. Looking forward to the next show next week. If you are in the comments now, H2, by all means, put up your information so we can show that. Okay. Look here, Stan Mason in the house. My brother Stan. He has checked in. What's going on? And let's talk about his show on the Nighthawk Network. His show is entitled Behind the Blue Curtain with Stan Mason. He comes on at 11 Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays. Him and his broadcast partners, who include, and shout out to you guys, Rhonda Young and Richard Broussard and Joseph Mosley, president and former police officers, people in the police community. On his show, they discuss things from a police people's perspective, but they don't just talk about police policies and whatnot. They also talk about what's going on in the world. And they have Izzy, a former reporter, and they got Chief Devlin, who's a chief down there in Texas. And you just have a variety of different people, and they give some very thoughtful and insightful points of view. So I like looking at the show. Again, it's Stan Mason Behind the Blue Curtain, 11 a.m. Another person here in the Nighthawk Network, and you see me address him earlier, is Coach V. Coach V from Pure and Uncut, Lions Football Talking More with Coach V and his partner, Will Muhammad. Shout out to you, Will. If you're listening or checking it out later, I know Will been kind of under the weather the last few days. Prayers for my brother. Hopefully you get to feeling real good soon. They have a good show. They don't just talk about football or sports. It's primarily what they talk about, but they also get into subjects like these. So I enjoyed that broadcast. That comes on Sunday at 12 p.m. We also have my cousin's show, Monumental Moments in God's Word with Dr. Marla Fossey. And right now, she is having a sock drive for the people of Maryland, particularly the homeless people. She's collecting money to buy socks for them so they can keep the feet warm in the wintertime. Here's the information for said sock drive. The $ Marla D. Facey, that is her cash app. So if you're able to send $1 or $5 or whatever you can spare, she will very much appreciate it. The drive is to set the end in a couple of weeks, so she's trying to get another 500 pairs of socks. So if you can contribute to that, we appreciate it. Another person in the Nighthawk Network is the For Show Radio people, me, VL Martin, and Cardinal Dave. I'm gonna probably have one or both of them on shows sometime soon so they can talk to you. Entertaining show. They also talk about some things. Girl Stop is a audio podcast with my cousin Elena Miller and her girl Letitia Williams Howard. It comes once a week. I will be posting that post on the Nighthawk Network as well. And of course, can't forget about my people, Big Meech, Aunt Nikki, and Big Red. I like Big Red. Where you been? You better get up in here. I better see you tomorrow. You let Big Red know I'm looking for him. You come show up, bruh. So yeah, they do Dish and Tea. They usually do that pretty much on the weekends when as Meech say, he is not in the donut factory as he is this evening, so they can do their show. And I look at their show. I'm a contributor in the research department there to look up stuff when they want me to look up stuff. I appreciate that. And we have our discussions in the comments like you guys have, and we say hello and catch up with each other and offer prayers and thanks and shed a few tears, laugh, the whole deal. So I enjoy watching their show. They, like I said, they usually comes on somewhere between 8 and 9 p.m. during the weekends, like Thursday to Sunday. So shout out to them as well. And let's see, I believe I got one other show I need to point out here. No, actually, I addressed everybody. So keep in mind, I'm looking to add to the network as well. So if you have a show out there or a show that you listen to, let's check it out. See if it fits what we're trying to do here, because we're trying to educate, we're trying to entertain, but we're also trying to have quality discussions. Give me a second, y'all. Let me get a couple sips in. Thank you much. It's getting dry in here, I tell you. I need to break out the humidifier tonight. But anyway, yeah, so we got those things going on the Nighthawk Network. So by all means, you may request my Get Off My Line information page from my Facebook page and check it out, and I will invite you, and you can be a part of the network. And you can learn as I've learned from these people, and they learn from me, and it's a great thing. And let's educate one another, okay? Okay, Stan said, I've been here listening from the start. I appreciate it, Stan. Thank you much. Thanks for chiming in, my brother. I appreciate you. That's my big bro right there. Thank you for inviting me. Absolutely, Israel. You are very much welcome. And feel free also to share it with your friends and invite them as well. Like I said, I've met a lot of people in the comments from some of these other shows That's how I've come to know them and get to know them. So they become part of the network just from that. You know, we've interacted and networked with one another. Let's talk with Aunt Nikki. Yeah, that's Aunt Nikki's show that she does separately from Dish and Tea. That show is also on her page, and she also has a YouTube page for that. You can put the information up for that as well, Nikki, if you get a sec. So, yeah. Okay, Nikki's saying we miss you, Stan, man. Yeah, I miss you too, bruh. You know I got to get you on the show one day. That'd be a great conversation. Stan has a very unique perspective that I very much respect. He'll give you he'll talk to you like your uncle. You know, that one uncle like, look here, boy. I'm gonna tell you what your mama didn't tell you. This is what it is, and that's what it is. That's how Stan talks to folks. I love it. So yeah, we got the people in the Nighthawk Network. Shout out to you. Thank you again. Thank you all for joining. Again, we're gonna do Get Off My Lawn live again tomorrow night. Tomorrow we talking mainly sports. We're gonna have Coach V on. We're gonna talk football because Coach V is a football coach. He's coached on the college and the high school and junior high level league. He's also coached both men and women. So that's a very interesting perspective that he'll have. We'll talk some other sports as well. Stan says we'll do it. All right, brother. I appreciate it. So yeah, as I end up here, thank you all for listening and joining in the comments. I love you all. Please be safe. Do what you need to do to come home the way you left. Please wear your mask. Remember, when you put the mask over your face, make sure it covers the nose and the mouth. Don't touch all in here to contaminate it. When you take it off, make sure you got several masks so you can wash them and sanitize them. Move on to the next one. Hold on, last comment here. Aunt Nikki, our Eagles suck. Yeah, I seen some of that game last night. They don't suck as bad as my Lions, but yeah, they sucking. So yeah, we're gonna talk the sports tomorrow, and we'll have that discussion. So again, everything in my Nighthawk Network may not be your cup of tea. They discuss a variety of different issues about sexuality and politics, religion, all that. So if you just go through and look at them all, I'm sure you'll find something that will meet your fans. Oh yeah, another shout out again to Sean Love. He has an audio podcast that I've been posting on my page also. He is a pastor at a church here in River Rouge, Michigan. His podcast that he just started a few weeks ago, I'll be posting that as well. So yeah, shout out to you, Sean. So yeah, that being said, we're about to end up shop here. Thank you guys again for joining. This has been Get Off My Lawn Live. As always, I am your host, Eric B, in the place to be. And we about to get on up out of here, y'all. Again, like I said, be safe. Until tomorrow, love you. Peace out.